the London Eye, Big Ben, the River Thames, castles, museums, and so much more. Many of the cultural foods here consist of fish and chips, which are fried fish and potato wedges or french fries. There's also bangers and mash, which is sausages and mashed potatoes. I'm actually cooking bangers or sausages right now. The weather here is usually rainy and cloudy, but sometimes we do get the occasional sun. British schools here have uniforms. In England, young students start choosing what jobs they want to do at a young age, usually around 8th grade. Things to do here in England. You can go tour London, and you can see some of the many musicals that they have showing. You can go to the castles and the museums. You can go out into the woods with your family and go hiking. You can go to the edges of England and go to the beaches. You can also go on an underground train to Paris. You can also drive to Wales, which is just a couple hours away from England, depending on where you are. There are so many things to do here.
Okay, I'm Michelle. I'm Aunt Michelle. And this is, I think, the 5th country that we've lived in. We've lived in Israel, India, Lebanon, Qatar, and now England. And we go from country to country with my husband because he works for a bank. And so they move us from country to country every 2 or 3 years. So this is the longest place that we've been in, and I've probably noticed different things than my kids have and that Johnny has because I'm at home a lot and do different things than the rest of the family. So some of the things that I have noticed is, first of all, you don't talk to people unless you've been introduced. My sweet husband likes to go on the elevator or on the train and start talking to everybody. You can't do that or they'll think you're absolutely crazy. You have to be introduced into society here first. Unless there's some areas that the grocer will talk to you as they bag your groceries and stuff. But other than that, it's not seen as appropriate. And if you say hi to the neighbors across the street, even though you've lived there for a year, they won't say hi back. And that was kind of sad when I first moved here. You just have to learn how it works though, and eventually they come around. Or they just figure you're a loony American, and they say hi to you anyways after a while. The weather here is very crazy. I know Sarah talked about it a little bit, but you can have a snowstorm, a rainstorm, a windstorm, a hailstorm, and sunshine all within a 3-minute period. It's pretty manic. You do not plan anything around the weather. You don't plan a picnic, you don't plan anything outside that might have inclement weather because there's a good chance that it will rain and you just have no idea. There's no way that you can watch the weather forecast, but even the weather forecast isn't right most of the time because the weather here is just so manic. Gardens are really big here. They love gardens and everybody has huge hedges, sometimes 20 feet high, that go up and around their houses. Everybody has hedges, but I think it's still kind of some of those social barriers because it's almost like, again, you don't go into each other's spaces unless you're introduced into society. The woods here are magical. That was one of the first things that I noticed when we were here, because if you go into the mountains or something in Utah, you'll find sticks and rocks and things like that, and it's not very comfortable if you were to lay down and go camping unless you kind of clear a spot or something. Here they have needles and pine needles, or they have leaves, or just this very soft padding on the ground, no hard places, and it's very smooth. And you'll see rabbits and foxes and squirrels and birds everywhere you go, and you'll hear birds all day long. Which is another thing that's really interesting too, that makes me think of something, is that in the winter, when I take the kids to school, it's dark in the morning, and when I go pick them up from school, it's almost dark then too, because of where we are on the earth. And in the summertime, the sun gets up like at 4:30 in the morning and doesn't go to bed until about 11. And so you have to get special shades that cover your windows so that you can go to sleep at night, because it's light so long in the summertime. But in the winter time, it gets really dreary and it's hard because it's dark so much of the day. And the last thing I can think of is that schools here, kids start really young. They start like at age 2. And if you miss school or take your kids out of school for any reason during the school holidays, or during not during the school holidays, but during the school year, then they will charge your family a lot of money. You can't just decide to leave school. So that's all. This is Matthew. Matthew is cooking something fun. obviously. Organizing something amazing, I'm sure.
He's gonna be.
Hello, I am Uncle Johnny, and I also live in London with Sarah. And one of the interesting things about London is the way that people get around. In America, typically people will use their cars to get from place to place. They'll go to work that way, they'll go on vacations that way, and they'll travel everywhere. In England, the majority of people commute by using trains. So for example, myself, I travel about 37 minutes into London, and then I take the underground, which is like the subway, and that takes me about another 18 minutes to get to my office. And then I have to walk a distance to get to where I work. And by working in London, it makes it so a lot of people can't afford to live in London, so they live outside of London and commute into there. One of the other differences is when people do drive, they drive here on the left side of the road as compared to the right side of the road. When we first arrived, it was sometimes very challenging to always remember that. You'd pull out into a street and you'd be on the wrong side and my kids would yell, "Dad, Dad, look out, move to the other side." So sometimes it would be a little scary. But one of the things that I love about living here is the way each of the little villages are. So you'll go from city to city, and most of them are not like America, where you go and you have a great big city, and then you'll have a little suburbs outside the city. In England, a lot of the times you'll have a small little village that'll have one little place called the High Street, which is the equivalent of a main street, and that's where all the shops will be, and then the rest of the city will just be homes. And there won't be other little supermarkets or other places all around. You might see a gas station, or as they call it here, a petrol station, on different corners, but it's not like in America where you have shopping malls and all the different places around. You usually go to one center area that'll have all of those types of things, and people live out in the country. So as you can see from behind me, if you can look, you'll see that we have lots of trees, and we live in an area that's kind of foresty, which is kind of fun. But I hope you find this interesting, and I hope you've enjoyed this presentation on what it's like to live in London.